Good morning, everyone. Still, if somebody has not given, those who are logged in with the name, your ID, please give it. Those who are logged in with the student ID, no need to give their name. Just for verification. Why you are not able to log in? Name is that your ID. You just give the ID. We'll check it. Please give the ID. I don't have the ID. So they'll ask. Yes, Rajesh. Why you don't have the ID? Online payment you have done. So whatever may be the some number they'll give, no, that number if you have given the link. So if it is not there, at least by sometime or tomorrow. Just a second. Who else is in their ID? India report. Okay, no problem. Just they'll check it. We are just doing what they told us. Just give me a minute. We'll start a session. Just we are checking. They told us to do that. That's what we are doing. After a few minutes, we'll start the session. I did not continue. इसके हिसाब से including वो कर लिया किराया. Okay. Thank you, all of you. We'll start the session. So, good morning to everyone. Yes, yesterday what we have discussed. If any issue is there, please, yes, as you did yesterday, same way you do, write it in the chat. I'll see it. See, our complete course will be based on what? Domain. So, if I remove the EDDS, then again we need to install. It will take a lot of time. So, just I given you the command. By executing that command, whenever you need, you can remove it. You can try it. And I have also shown you graphically also you can. एक नया idea है. इसमें क्या था? 20 था ना? Just a minute. Last वही था. Okay. So now I'll show you just with the graphical also. You can just go to the manage, from there remove. You can click on the remove process and you can do it. Okay. So yesterday, before I go to for today's session, I'll just revise it. I uh, I already mentioned it. Again, I'm mentioning it. See, as per the recordings of the yesterday session, definitely will be getting from the WebEx. We got the message yesterday itself. They are having some technical issues. So still it is been not sorted out. So it is taking time. So yesterday session, 100% you will be getting today. And today's session you will be getting tomorrow. Because there is some issue with them. So it is getting installed very slowly. So that's what I will also try to put it in the WhatsApp, same message. I got yesterday this message. Today you will be getting yesterday's session recording. And today's session you will be getting tomorrow. So don't worry about that. Whatever session is there, we will definitely provide you the recordings. Now, can I start with the session? Okay. ID hai. So now, let us just revise for a minute yesterday's session, then we'll go to today's session. So yesterday, what we have discussed, very important session yesterday was topologies. So how many types of topologies we have? Two types. What are they? Physical topology and logical topology. So in physical topology means what? We have discussed how the devices are connected using the physical topologies like mesh, bus, ring, star. Which one we commonly used? Which one is commonly used? Star, yes. Because in that, if one of the device get any problem, it will not have the effect on the other devices, which will happen in other structure like ring or bus. But in the mesh, the complexity is there. So this is why mostly commonly used structure is what? Star. Then after that we discussed that logical topology means there we can understand the flow of the data. So that depends on the which type of model you are using. The flow of the data depends on what? The model you are using for your network. So how many types of logical models we can have? Two types of logical models are available. Is there. That is what? Workgroup model and domain model. So when I install a server OS or client OS in Windows, by default that machine exists like a workgroup model or domain model. When we install any OS, server or client OS in Windows, that machine by default exists like a nice, means you remember still. So by default, machine exists in a work group. So the advantage with work group is what? Simplicity. We don't have to do anything, no configuration, nothing. Any OS, you just connect, they'll communicate. That is the advantage, simplicity. But is there any disadvantages with the work group? Yes, there are lots of disadvantages. So one common example we have taken, let's suppose for 4 users, for 4 machines, if you want to provide any user to log in from any machine, how many accounts you have to create? Yes, duplicate accounts. Or you have to create, how many users are there? That many account you have to create in all machines. Square time, yes. So that is the problem. And again, I told you, suppose you have to apply or implement one policy to one user. So you have to do that in all machine for one user also, because he might be using different machine every day. So that is the problem. So those problems can be overcome by using the other model. What is that other model? Domain model. Yes, the user cannot log in unless until it accounts is created. So in domain model, it is called as what? Server to client model. And workgroup model is called peer-to-peer model. There is no server, no client. But here, server and client will be there. So in any domain, how many servers you can have minimum? Minimum, how many server you can have? One. For maximum, there is no limit, but minimum you should have one server. There will be no domain without domain controller. So yesterday I told you three important terms which you should remember throughout this course, even after the course when you attend the interviews. One is what? What is ADDS? ADDS abbreviation, Active Directory Domain Controller. Yes, Active Directory Domain Service. That is the abbreviation for ADDS. So ADDS is what? I told you number of time yesterday in a single word. What you will say about the ADDS? ADDS is what? I'm not getting any reply. Forgotten. No. I said a simple word. ADDS is what? Yes, it's a service. ADDS is a what? Service. It's a service. Which type of service? Storage based or database service, which stores the information of all users, computer, group, services, and resources. So this this service ADDS is installed in which machine? That machine need to be made as a domain controller. So domain controller means what? A machine in which ADDS service is installed. A server. So the DC is what? Domain controller is what? It's a server in which ADDS service is installed. So this server provides what? What? It provides the services, resources, everything to all users with authentication. So what is authentication it uses? What is the authentication DC uses, domain controller uses? Kerberos, nice. So, and all the user information will be stored in a centralized location, which is called centralized database file. That file name is what? In DC, there is a file. That file name I told you. I'm waiting for the answers. Yes, very nice. NTDS.dit. The database file for the domain structure is what? NTDS.dit, where NTDS.dit stands for New Technology Directory Service dot Directory Information Tree. So with this service, complete information will be available in this. And this file is present where? In Windows, C drive. Then in C drive, there is a folder called Windows. Inside that, there will be folder created with the name NTDS. Inside that, you will have this file called ntds.dit. Okay, clear with this concept? So this is what we have discussed yesterday. Then I told you how we will identify. Suppose a company you have joined, already DC is configured before you, and there are number of machines, 2-3 machines are kept there, and somebody is ask you, in one of this machine, we configured the DC. How do you identify? So how do you identify in which machine is a domain controller? How do you identify? Yesterday I told you. Yes, very nice. So we have to go to where? Command prompt. Type it what? Net account. So in the computer role name, what it will show? If that machine is a domain controller, what it will show? If I type net accounts, yes, primary. That is. So it means you have remembered the session. Very good. So now, using this concept, we will proceed for today's session. So our today's session is about, yesterday we made domain. So domain advantage is what? Everything is centralized. Any user can log in from any machine. Yes. So how to do that? We'll see today's session. So before the ADDS install, I shown you how to create a user. Those users are called local users. So in local users case, what happens? Where or in which machine that user is created, in that machine only the user can log in. But now we have installed the ADDS. So I'll create the user in DC, but that user can log in from any machine within our domain or network. How it is possible? That is our today's session. So did you understood this? So now one more thing I need to ask you before I proceed with. I said today we will discuss in session. User will be created in DC. That is a which user? Domain users. So once you create a domain user with the Active Directory service, that user can log in within any machine in the network. How it is possible? That is what we will discuss. So in workgroup model, the authentication it takes place or not when the user log in, it will be verified or not. Anybody remember? Yes. What is the authentication it takes place in workgroup model? I'm waiting for the answer. Mhm, No, no. Yes, that is the answer. NTLM, new technology LAN manager is no problem, but you got the answer. Don't say sorry. NTLM, that is the answer. SAM is what? Database file. Please remember, in workgroup model, I repeat, SAM is a database file where the user information will be stored, whereas the authentication takes place through NTLM, that is in the workgroup model. Whereas in the domain model, authentication takes place through Kerberos. Very nice. And the database file for the Active Directory is what? Where the user information will be stored. File name, complete file name. Yes, ntds.dit. Before this service, now which we are calling ADDS, which makes our network as what? Domain. Which makes our network domain. Domain means what? Where our network will become centralized. So to make our model as a domain model, we need to install which service? ADDS. So now we are calling this as a ADDS. Before this ADDS, like in 2003, ADDS service used to be referred as what? Before the 2008 ADDS service, like in 2000 or 2003, this ADDS service is to be referred as only ADS, Active Directory Service. But now from 2008, the name is what? ADDS. ADDS stands for Active Directory Domain Service. Before that, it used to be called ADS. But before 2000, the same service, at that time, the server operating system is to be called with what name? NT, Windows NT. So at that time, the Active Directory service used to be referred with what name before 2000? Active Directory service used to be referred with what name? Now we are referring with what? ADDS. Before 2000, that same service used to be referred with what name? It used to be referred only as what? NTDS. Before 2000, ADDS service is to be referred as what? NTDS. New Technology Directory Service. Now from 2000, it is called ADDS. Then from 2008 onwards, we are calling same service as what? ADDS. It's clear? Okay, fine. Very good. Yes. What is your confusion? Please tell me. Tell me means don't switch on the mic. Please write it in the chat. See, before this service are same, NTDS. Before 2000, that same service used to be called as NTDS. Now from 2000 onwards, because before 2000, the server OS operating system to be referred with what name? NT. So the directory service then kept name they kept what? NTDS. Then from 2000 they took the what? Some decision like this. In which year they are releasing, that name they are giving to their server operating system. Like if they are released in 2003, that operating system used to be called as what? Windows 2003 server operating system, because that is released in year 2003. Then in 2008. So like this. So from that they change the name from one NT to what? ADS up to 2008. From 2008 they called what? ADDS. Same service. Okay, can I proceed to the next one? Over. Understood? Okay, fine. Now, today our session is about what is the topic we are going to discuss? How domain users can be created and how the domain users can be logged in from any machine. So that we are going to discuss uh, with a session name called client and member server. What is our today's session topic name? Client and member server. Client and member server. Today topic name is. So today our session is about what? Clients and member server. So let us discuss this. Now, client means what? Client means what generally? Any user you mean to say. Okay. Now you see the definition. A technically here client means what? A computer which is joined into the domain with a client operating system is called as what? Client. So a user who is using that machine is called as what? A user. But if that machine is using to log in as a domain user, so that machine needs to be first joined into the domain. So before joining the machine into the domain user cannot log in into the machine. So now a computer which is joined into the domain, how to join I'll show you, don't worry about that. Just try to remember what is meant by client. A client means a computer which is joined into the domain with client operating system, then it is called as what? Client machine. This is called client machine. Now, example, client operating systems like Windows 7, 8, XP, like this. Member server means what? A computer joined into the domain, into the domain. A computer joined into the domain with the server operating system. This is your server. So please remember this definition. So our today's session is about client and member server topic. So first of all, client means what? A computer which is joined into the domain with client operating system is called as what? Client machine. Member server. Member server means a computer which is joined into the domain with the server operating system, like server operating system 12, 8, any 13, anything which is joined into the domain. Then after joining, that machine is called as member server machine. So these are the two terms we have to discuss and do practical today in our today's session. Are you clear with this two term now? I repeat once again what is meant by client. Client means a machine which is joined into the domain with the client operating system. Then that machine is called as what? Client machine. Member server machine means what? A machine which is joined into the domain with the server OS. Then that machine is called member server machine. Is it okay, everybody? Have you noted down this? Shall I wait with this slide or can I go to the next slide? Okay. Now, our next slide. So now, let me ask you this. Like yesterday session. Now we are discussing domain model or work group model. Acha, domain. So somebody wrote something. I'll just check it here. So I did not ask. I think what is meant by domain. I asked you what is ADDS, what is DC, but I didn't ask you. Somebody here it is written. What is simple definition of domain? So yesterday we discussed what is the simplest definition of domain. I told you domain is a what? It's a collection of computer groups which are kept under a or which works under a common name for controlling and managing. That is what the definition of domain. So what is the symbol for domain? Yesterday I told you how the domain is represented. The symbol for the domain is what? How the domain is been triangle. Somebody said rectangle. No, triangle it is. Okay. So I'm proceeding with today's session now. So now let me say this. Just a minute. Now, uh, this is one machine I have. This is one machine. This is one switch. These are the machine. So yesterday we discussed this. So now let's suppose this machine is a system 1 with the Windows 7. This is my system 2 with the Windows 10. This is my system 3 which suppose Windows 2008. And this is my system 4 with a server operating system 2012. Now this all has been joined to the switch. Now tell me, this is which model? You tell me. This is also called, this connectivity is also called as what? Star. Remember. So now you tell me, this is which model? We had discussed yesterday in topology. How many types of models we have? The data transmission depends on the model. So this is which group model? Work group model or domain model? So I'm getting answers work group. Anybody think it is a domain model? Yes, nice. So it means you understood yesterday. So here, if I use any server OS or client OS, it's not a, it doesn't make any difference. By default in Windows, any OS you install, whether it is a client OS or server OS, by default that machine exists like a work group. Yes, very nice. Now let us talk about the domain model now. So to make it as a domain, what should I do? Install one service. So first we have to make a server. So yesterday I made a server. This is my server. So first I should have some server operating system. So I'm using this 2012 server operating system. I want to make this machine as my server. So what should I do in this machine? First install one service. Which service? ADDS. To make our network, or to make our network as what? Centralized, or to make our network in a domain model. ADDS is installed. Then after installing this machine need to be converted into domain controller. So while converting the domain controller, we click on the flag. In that, how many options were there? three options. So I told you complete MCS is based on these three options. So yesterday to create DC, which option you have selected? Three options were there. Once you click on the flag, anybody remember? Yes, very nice. Third option. So if you remember this, MCS is very easy. Yes. So then, how do you verify this machine is become the DC? When you go to the net accounts from the command prompt and type it net accounts, it will show what primary. This is the way to verify it is a DC or not. Now, what is the IP address I have taken for this machine? 10.0.0.1. Preferred DNS should be what? Same as the machine IP address, because with this a DNS is also got installed. When we install the ADDS, DNS also will get installed. So we created this machine as what? DC. So when you create a DC, you have to give your DC some name. That name should be in the DNS format. So we created our domain with what name now? So this machine is being made as a server with what name? Domain name. So what was the domain name I used yesterday? Tell me, what was the name I used yesterday? Yes, very nice. So I used what name? Zoom.com. So this is our domain. Now this machine will be connected to switch. So this is my switch. Now I am having one machine with the client OS. This is the machine with client OS. So let's suppose this is I'm using as what? Windows 7. And the machine IP address, this is what? 10.2. So it will communicate with what? Communicate with what? DC. I have another machine here which I'm installed with, say suppose Windows 10 operating system. Client OS. This is IP is what? 3. And I have one more machine. In this I install, say suppose Windows 2012 operating system. And this machine IP address suppose 10.4. Now, can they communicate? Yes. Now, this is my question now. What you will call this machine now? This first machine you will call as what? What you will call this machine? This system, what you will call? Server. Which server? Yes, this machine should be called as DC, domain controller. Now, what you will call these machines now? This one, this one, this one. This 10.234. Let's say suppose this machine name for simplicity is 2. This machine name 3. This machine name 4. What they are called? So all they are called client. But you see here, there is a difference here. Here Windows 7 is there, Windows 10 is there, but here Windows 2012 is there. So all three are client, or any difference is there? One is what? Member server. Which one? Last one. Very nice. Now, why all these machines are what now? All these machines are what? Now tell me, system 3, system 2, system 4. They are all what? What they are? I'm just waiting for your answer. System 2, system 3, system 4. They are what? Member server or client?
Hello.
Yes, wait a minute. Just the connection was lost. I'm just reconnecting. Wait, login in.
Hello, anybody there?
Yes.
Able to hear. Yes, can you able to hear me? Sorry, there was a disturbance with the internet connection. There was, due to that, I lost the connection. Now I rejoin it. So again, we'll start from where we left. So I was asking you this question. Can you able to hear and see my screen? Now I was asking this question. So this machine, system 2, system 3, system 4 will exist like a what? So they will exist like a what? System 2 as client, system 3 as client, system 4, system 4, that is with the server OS. No, it will be not client member server. It will be just member server. So what answer you are saying is right or wrong? What answer you are saying is right or wrong? Somebody says. No, member server, right? So you said client and member server. That is what I'm asking. That answer what you are given, system 2, system 3 is client, system 4, member server. That answer is right or wrong? I'm just asking for confirmation. Just say right answer or wrong answer. Wrong. Why wrong? Now you tell me what is the correct answer. What is the correct answer according to you? No, not right like. Uh-huh. No, no. I can straight away give you the answer. Answer is what? These three machines, system 2, system 3, system 4, will not be client or member server by default. They will work like a work group because I did not join them into the domain. So these machines will work like a work group. Yesterday I told you many times, whether it is a client OS or server OS, by default that machine will work like a work group. Now, now, after I joined, now let us assume that I joined. How to join? I'll show you later. I joined this machine, I joined this machine, and I joined this machine into the domain. Now, after joining, system will work, system 2, sorry, will work like what? Now you tell me. System 2 will work like what now? I joined that into the domain. After joining that machine, system 2 in the domain, that machine will work like what? Yes, that is the answer. Now it will work like a client. System 3, yes, client. System 4, system 4 will work like what? System 4 also, somebody says client. No, the answer is member server. Yes, that is it. After joining, it will work. Remember, after joining, the machine will exist or work either in a client or member server. But before joining the machine into the domain, whether it is a client OS or server OS, that machine will work like a work group. Please remember this point. Now, somebody may get this doubt or somebody may ask you this in the interview. What is the difference between client and member server? Is there any difference or there is no difference? Difference is there. What is the difference? That is the easiest, simplest answer you are saying, OS wise. No, technically some difference is there. What is the difference? Let me tell you. So now I joined system 2, system 3, system 4 into the domain. So by default, this system 2, system 3 is called as what? Client. And the system 4 is called member server. So what is the difference between client and member server is that this member server is also working like a client presently. And the client machine is also working like a client. But what is the difference between client and member server is that the member server is a what is member server? A machine with a server OS. That's why it is called member server. But what is the difference between client and member server means presently all three machines are working like a client, but there is one difference. What is the difference? System 4 is working like a member server. Presently it is working like a client. But in the future, if you want to make machine member server as a server, like I want to configure on this machine some important service like DSCP. I can do it on the DC, but separately also I can configure to reduce the load on the DC. So that I can do on the member server, which I cannot do on the client. This is the difference. So on the client, we cannot configure any services. They are just designed to use the services. But member server can use the services as a client. But if you get a requirement in the future to configure some service, that then you can use at that time member server that you cannot do on the client. So member server can work additionally like as a client, as well as in the future, if you want, you can make that machine as a server. On that, we can install any important service, which you cannot do in the client machine. So this is the difference. Yes, we can run some service on member server, which we cannot do on, or we can configure some service as per our requirement in member server, which we cannot do on client machine. This is the most important difference between the client machine and server machine. Sorry, yes, between the client machine and member server machine, I mean to say. Did you understood now? Everybody understood? Okay. So now same thing I'll ask you by putting the slide now. Please don't unmute your mic. No, it will disturb others. The session was proceeding very nicely till we lost the internet connection. Now everything is fine. Please don't disturb again yourself and others. Okay. So it is clear up to this, everybody. So let me check how far you understood. Now tell me this. Tell me this. Same question I'm asking you now. Now with a diagram. Now you tell me this machine is installed with 2012. This machine is installed with Windows 8. This is 8. This is 7. Now these machines are called what now? Tell me. Write it in the chat. Yes. So you understood now. And if you are clever, you can see here it is already written. Now I am joining those machine into the domain. How to join? I'll show you later. Now you tell me now this machine will work like what? After joining. Huh? Not member server, client, because you see what is the OS. Yes. Next, I joined this machine again now. So it will be what? Client machine. Now I'm joining this machine. So what this machine will work like a member server. Very nice. Now I joined this also. Now what it is exist. So did you understood now? Now if somebody asks you here, two client, two member servers are there. What is the difference? So what you will tell me now? What you will tell me now? These four machines difference. So by default, presently they are working like a client. But in the future, if you want to configure any service that you can do on member server machine, not on the client machine. This is the difference. Did everybody understood? Did everybody understood? Yes or no? So if you want, we can run or configure some services here on member server, which we cannot do in the client machine. Yes, go ahead. If anybody is having any doubt, please go ahead. Yes, please write it in the chat. I'll give the reply. Please go ahead with your doubt. Write it in the chat. Don't unmute your mic. We have 2000 server and client. Yes. So once you join into the domain, by default, member server will work like a client unless until you configure some services. Without configuring that, it will work like a normal client. But in member server, if requirement arises, you can configure any additional services or you can configure some servers on that member server, which you cannot do on client OS. So Windows 8 and 2008 are what? Windows 8 is a client operating system, whereas the Windows 2008 is a server operating system. They are, both are not servers. Clearly it is written, it is only 8, it is 2008. So whichever is mentioned with the year, that is your server OS, which is just mentioned with a numerical number, that is a client OS. Is it clear now? Okay. So now our complete topic is dependent on this. So now this triangle represent what? This triangle represent what? Domain controller or domain? Only domain. Then this machine represent what? Domain controller. So all the machines will be inside the domain. Now see here. So all this machine is working with a common name. What is the common name you find here at the bottom in the slide? What is the domain name? You see bottom. Yes, ms.com. So that is what the definition of domain. So domain is a administrative logical boundary, or it's a collection of users, group, computer under a common name, which works with a, that is been done with what? For security and easy management. Okay. So that is about today's theory session. So did you understood? Now we are going to create what? Domain. Domain is ready. So once the domain is ready, we will create which user? Domain users. So local user means what? It will be created in the individual machine. So in which machine I created, in that machine only that user can log in. So those users are called local users. So local user will be created in which model? Workgroup model. What about domain model? A user which is created in the Active Directory database service. Then that user is called domain model. So how we are making our model or our network as domain with the help of which service? ADDS. So once you create the domain controller means I told you number of time, a machine in which ADDS service is running. So through that, if you create a user, then that user is called domain users. So domain users advantage is what? Those users can log in from any machine within our network or within our domain. So now the user account will be created, only domain user account will be created in the PC, not in other machine, but they can able to log in. So this is the advantage with the domain. So I already shown you how to create a local user. Now I'll be creating you what? Domain users. So are you following? Any doubt? MS means what? Member server. Ah, yes, one doubt. What is that doubt? Okay. Sir, what is Active Directory? See, yesterday you were there or not there? I said Active Directory is a service which stores the information of users, group, computer, resources, and services. Active Directory is a service. That service is installed in which machine? That machine is called domain controller. So DC is a what? A server in which ADDS service is running. So once you create a domain, all this machine will be working under a common name for easy management. Understood now? Okay. So now we'll proceed with what? The practicals. So for today practical, before I go to the practical, let me just tell you the difference between, again, one more time, I'll tell you the difference between local user and domain user. So if I connected the the, 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 the machines like this, if I connected the machines like this, now you tell me this is which model, workgroup model or domain model. So in this, there is no server, no client. So any machine can have any OS. They are independent of each other. So it might be Windows 7, it might be Windows 10, it might be Windows 8, it might be Windows 2012. So all they are working like a workgroup model. So in this, the users has to be created locally in all machine. Wherever you want that user to log in, that user has to be created. And here the user authentication takes place through what? Authentication takes place through what? NTLM. This is the authentication protocol. And the database file of them users are what? SAM. This is for the workgroup model. Now, coming to the domain model. Now, this is our domain model. So first thing you have to remember is what? In the domain model, there will be relationship between the server and client. Here, at least one machine should be server. You can have more than one, but minimum one server. So how do you create this server? We discussed yesterday. So to make this machine as a server, first, this machine should be installed with a service called ADDS. So that service will get installed along with which service? DNS. Now, I promoted that machine to what? To make this machine as what? Domain controller. How to check it? I told you number of options. Yes. We go to the easiest is what? Go to the net command prompt, type it what? Net accounts. It will show you what? Primary. And also you can see the database file, even the computer name. So many ways you can identify it. Now this machine is my what? Domain. Now this machine is connected via network connecting device. Let's suppose that device is switch. Now I have number of machines. Now these are not joined into the domain till now, but they are containing different OS. Some machine is having client OS, some machine is having server OS. Suppose this is Windows 7, this is Windows 10, this is Windows 2012. Now assume I created one domain. Now assume I created one domain. So domain is represented with what symbol? Triangle. Now let us assume that I joined this machine. How to join? I'll show you practically. I joined these machines. Now this second and third machine will exist like what? Just now we discussed. These two machines are client OS. So these machines will exist like after joining into the domain what? These machines will work like what? Yes, clients. And this is a server OS. I also joined this machine into the domain. But this machine will exist or work like a member server. Yes. Nice. So I created yesterday a domain with what name? Zoom.com. Now, where I'll be creating the domain users now tell me. So local user will be created locally here. But I want to create here what now? Domain users. So now in this DC machine, I have a console called ADUC console. So there I need to go and create the users. So suppose I'm creating the users like U1, U2, U3, U4. Now, what is the advantage with this? In any machine, any user can log in. Whether they can able to log in from the member server or not, that is my doubt. Can they log in? The user account will be created from the DC. Now that user, one of the user is trying to log in from the member server machine. Can it log in or no? Yes. Yes, it can log in. So what is the advantage with this model now? Any user can log in from any machine, but this will happen only after you join that machine into the domain. Now user will be created in DC. Now I'm trying to log in with U1 here, U2 here, U3. Can it be possible? Yes, it will be possible. But what is the difference between client and member server? In the future, if I need any service to be installed or to be configured, so I can do it on this member server, which I cannot do in client machine. This is the difference. Now, when the user is logged in, now suppose in system through, one user is trying to log in with a name called U5. That user account is created in the DC or not? It is not created. So now will it allow to log in, or will this user log in? No. So here some security is running. Yes, that's why it is checking whether that user account is existing or not, and whether that username and password is matching or not. So that is being done here with the help of what? A protocol. What is that protocol? Kerberos protocol. Yes. Now the user writes the data. They are writing the data. Now where this data will be stored now? In the DC, the data will be stored, or this user information, where it will be stored? In a Active Directory database file. What is that file name? ntds.dit. I already told you yesterday the abbreviation of this. And where this file will be located? In the C drive, Windows folder. Inside that, you have a folder called ntds folder. Inside that, you will find the file ntds.dit. So you remember here important thing, the protocol uses for authentication is what? Kerberos. And the database file is what? For the Active Directory, ntds.dit. These are the two most important things you have to remember for this model. So are you clear with this now? So here the difference for local user. For local user, the protocol is what? NTLM. And the database file is what? SAM. But here the protocol is what? This. I told you so many times, still somebody muted his mic. So did you understood now? Shall we proceed with the practical, everybody? Okay. I have done that. So so I said, what you want me to repeat? Yes. What is your doubt? Go ahead. See, that I'll show you. That is one of the console will be created once we install this ADDS service and make our machine as domain control. Once console will be there. ADUC. What is that? Active Directory users and computer. Through that, we will create domain users. So a few days back, I told you how to create a local user. We went to which one? I shown you two options, computer management. From there you find, or you can go to the from the run. You typed what? LUSR mgr.msc. So you find what? User there. You selected the user and created the user. So that user is what? Local user. So domain user will be created from this console. ADUC. Clear? So can I start the practical so that you will understand it better? Okay, fine. So let us start with the today's practical. So today onwards, you need how many machines to do the practical? How many machines you need to do the practical? Minimum 2 machines. Yes. in our today's practical session, first what we have to do,
Note, sir.
our topic name was what? Yes, almost the session is about to complete. What was our topic name? Yes, client and member server. So whenever we install any OS, whether it is a server OS or client OS, by default that machine exists like a what? Exists like a what? Yes, work group. So we need to join into the domain. After joining, they will exist like a either client or after joining into the domain, they'll exist like a either client or member server, depending upon the OS. So if it is a server OS, then after joining it is called member server. If it is a client OS and you join into the domain, then it is called client. So our first task today is what? How to join the machine into the domain. So first of all, that machine should be what? In work group. Then we will join it. So we need how many machines? 2 machines. So you can see here, I have 2 machines here. So for simplicity, I'm calling first machine as what? System 1. So where I created yesterday what? My domain controller. So how do you check it? It is domain controller or not? Yes. Go to the command prompt, type it what? Net accounts. It will be showing what? Primary. So first, the DC is ready. Then go to the second machine now. Check it whether it is work group. It is in the work group or not. Then it will show you where it will show you it is work group. Yesterday we discussed. Yes, where it will show. Yes. Go to the computer icon. From there we can check it. Then what we have to do, join that into the domain. So how to join into the domain? So before that, you important thing is IP address. So now you give IP address which is belonging to the same network as your domain. So my domain IP is what? My DC IP is what? 10.1. So this other machine IP should be other than 10.1, but it should belong to 10.network. Then in the preferred DNS, because we are joining this machine into that with the help of what? Domain name. So DNS plays very important role in the resolution of name. So we have to give the preferred DNS IP address in the machine which you want to join. So that preferred DNS IP should be of the DC machine IP address. Yes. Then right click on the properties, then change setting. Then you will select what? Now domain. Yesterday it was in work group. Then in which domain you want to join it, you write the name. Then it will ask for authentication what? The password. So you write it what? Domain administrator password. If you write just administrator, it is a local administrator. How do you distinguish local administrator and domain administrator? So domain administrator means what? Administrator at the rate your domain name. So we are joining the second machine into the first machine. So we are joining into the first machine. So who is having the right? The domain administrator. So you need to give what? The domain administrator name. Administrator at the rate your domain name. With what name we have created the domain? Like zoom.com. Then give the password of our domain administrator. Then it will be joined. Now that machine is with the server OS. So that machine will work like a or act like a member server or client. Yes, member server. So same procedure will be there. If that machine is there with the client OS and we have to join it, the procedure will be same. But at that time, we will call that machine as what? Client. Now, you go to the second machine and same you go to the command prompt and type what? Net accounts. It will show now for member server as what? It will show for member server as what? Server. If it is a client, it will show workstation. So this is the first thing we have to do in today's practical. So first, I'll be joining the machine into the domain. After joining, it will become like a member server or client based on my OS. Okay. Then after that, our next task will be what? How to create the domain users. So once you create the user in DC, that user will log in from the either client or member server. So that we'll do after joining. So it is clear to everybody? Is it okay to everybody up to now? Yes. So I'll show you now how to join it. Practically, I'll show you. So I need how many machines now? Two machines. So you can see here, I'm having two machines. This is my DC. So how can I check my DC is there or not? Yes. Number of options we discussed yesterday. Same thing I'm repeating now. So now you go to the computer, right click, you can find here your fully qualified domain name. Yes, full computer name and also the domain name. And one more easy thing what you can do, go to the command prompt, type it what? Net space accounts. So it is a prime. Now check the IP address of this machine. Now see here, my IP address of the DC is what? 10.1. Default DNS is what? Same as machine IP address because ADDS and DNS both are in same machine. Okay, up to this clear? Now we have another machine which we need to join into this domain. So how do we join it? Let us see now. Now I have taken here another machine here. I have taken here another machine. Now check the system name of this machine. It is system 2. So this machine should be existing in which model? Work group model. So now you see here system 2 should be in which status? Work group. Now I need to join this machine into the domain. So how I'll join it? See here. So before that IP address should be there. Now see here, This is my system 2. I want to make this machine as a what? Member server. So now, first thing what you have to do, check this machine name. How do you check it? Go to the our machine. Now you see my system name is what? System 2. It is existing like what? Work group. Now, important thing is what? You check the IP address. So you go to the network, properties, change adapter setting, then your LAN card, properties, and we are using which one? IP version 4. Now here, the IP address is what? My server IP is 10.1. So it should be of same network. So I given 10.2. And here preferred DNS should be what? 10.1. So I given yes. Now we will join this machine into the domain. So once again, you see here, the name is what? Work group. Now I'll join it. Here, the machine is what? It is in the work group. I'll join it into the domain. So how to join it? Simple. So first check connectivity is there or not between these two machines. You go to the run. From there, you go to the command prompt. And how do you check the connectivity? Ping to your DC machine. What is the DC machine IP address? In my case, it's 10.1. So both are communicating. See how to identify member server means what? Just I put the wallpaper. It won't be coming directly. We have the wallpapers just to make you understand in a simple way. I put it. Now I'm making it. Still, it is what? Work group. I'm making it like a member server. How to do? Just to distinguish, these are two different machines I put like this. Yes, can you see here? I'm using two different machines. Yeah. Now, see here. You won't be getting like this wallpaper. We have the wallpaper, so we've set it. Now, I'm making this machine into what? Joining into the domain. So once I join, so it is a server OS or client OS, server OS. So when I join this machine into the domain, that's what we are discussing since 1 hour. It will become what? Domain, member server. So here it is in the which state as work group. By default, when you install any OS, server or client, without joining into the domain, that machine will be existing like a what? Work group. Now I'll join it. After joining, it may exist like a client or member server depending upon the OS. So it is a server OS. So if I join it, it will become like a member server. So how to join it? You see here. Go to your my computer account. Then right click. Can you find here change setting? So click on what? Change setting. Click on change setting. You are getting one more window with what here? Change. So click on what? Change. So previously it was in what? Work group. Now you select here what? Domain. Now you created a domain with what name? We made our domain controller with what name? Yes, zoom.com. So I'm giving that. That's it. Say enter. It will ask the authentication. So in our case, it should be what? Domain administrator. So how do you write the domain administrator? Administrator at the rate our domain name. What is our domain name? Zoom.com. And then the password. Now it is saying you, welcome to the zoom.com domain. Now it will ask for to restart. Here, it has changed here. You can find here. Previously it was work group, but now it is become what? Part of this domain. Which domain? Zoom.com. So now this machine will be called as what? This machine will be called as what now? Member server. Now see here the status of the machine now. So please remember, it will be not showing on the desktop like this member server. I have a wallpaper, I set it just to make you understand in a simple way. That's it. Now see here. Previously it was under work group. Now it is a part of a domain. So this is a server OS we joined. So now this machine is a part of domain. Which domain? Zoom.com. So this machine is with a server OS. So it is called as what? Member server. If I had a this machine with a client OS and I join into the domain, the procedure will be same. Then that machine is called as what? Or referred as what? Client. Now, if you go to the command prompt and type it what? Net space accounts. So for server OS, members it will show server. And if it is a client OS and it is working like a client, then it will show workstation in the computer role name. Now it is clear to everybody. Have you understood now? Okay, fine. So now our machine is ready. Now our next concept is what? Our next concept is what? Domain user we have to create. So when the user is created in the DC, they should able to log in from any machine. So I have joined this machine into the domain. Now user will be created into the or from the DC, and that user will be logged from the member server. That is what we will do the practical now. Okay, understood? So how to do this? So here you can see, you can take the snapshot of this practical. Earlier page have you taken how to add or how to join your machine into the domain? You just take a snapshot of this. Anyhow, I'll be sending you this soft copy also, notepad file, so that you can do the practical easy. This is the step to join the machine into the domain. Yes, done. Taken the snapshot. Okay, next page. Can I go to the next page? Yes. Okay. This is the next page. Now I'll show you how to create a domain user. So to create the domain user, we need to open one console called ADUC console from the tools, or we can also do it from the keyboard by using what? Go to the first run, then type it what? dsa.ms. From there also same thing can be opened. Then first expand your domain name. Then you will get a container called many container. Out of that, one container will be what? Users. Because today our first requirement is what? To create domain users. So select that container, right click new. You will be getting what? New. Then click on new. Then click on user and give any name of your choice. So this is how you will create the user. Then you need to assign the password. So I told you yesterday, again I am repeating. The password is what? By minimum it should have how many characters I said yesterday? 7 character. Yes. And the password complexity is enabled by default. So in our 7 character minimum, it should contain all the 3 things: alphabets, numerical number with special character. Now that user has been created. Now what is the procedure now? How do you verify it? Now log in from not the DC machine. You go to the member server and then try to log in with the user which you have created. So that is the So did you understood up to this? Shall I do this practical? So please take this snapshot of this, how to create the domain user. Done. Okay. So I'll share it, no problem. Then now let us do this. Whatever I said practically, I'll show you. So this is my DC machine. How can I verify it? The simple way, go to the command prompt, type it what? Net space accounts. So now it is showing my machine as what? Primary. So it means it is a DC machine. So now open your server manager console. So on the server manager console, can you find at the right side what? Tools. So click on what? Tools. You find here the fifth option, ADUC, means Active Directory Users and Computers. So from here, you click, you will go to the this console, ADUC console. From there, you need to expand your domain name. Here you will find container called users. So this is how I'm showing you with the graphical. Now I want to do same thing in a text mode format, means you just go to the run, type it what I said, DSC dot MSC. Same thing will get open. So now same container got opened. Yes, dsa.ms. Now, first I need to expand my domain name. Here you will find containers. So our requirement is what? Creating domain user. So select here what? User. Then right click. Can you find here new option? Then under the new, you have category called user. So you select here. Now you can create any user with any name. So I'm just assigning, so suppose this name as user1. Now the login name. So first name, last name, full name, whatever you want to give. But with what name you want this user to log in, here you have to mention the user login name. So what name you have given in the user login name, logon name, with that name only it will log in. Now here you can find our domain. So it is our domain name @zoom.com. So this is how you will create any domain user. Go to the next. Now here it is asking the password. So minimum how many character you have to give? With complexity 7. If you give less than 7, it will not accept. So I have given the password. Now here already I shown you this option. If you keep this option, check, the user compulsory has to change the password when he log in first time. So I'm unchecking that. Then the user is created. Now how do you verify this domain users is created and it can able to log in from any machine? So go to our member server. See, this is our member server. Now I will log out from the administrator. Now I will log in with which user now? Domain user. So which domain user I created? I created a domain user with what name? User1. So sorry, here. I need to click on what? The other option. Then here I'm going to my username. What is the username? User1. I assign some password. That password I'm giving. Now, can it able to log in? So this is the advantage with the domain model. Any user can log in from any machine which is joined into the domain. Remember, without joining into the domain, you cannot log. So is it okay now? Everybody understood? Okay, up to this? Now our next task is what? Now suppose how many character is there by default for the user to be assigned with the password? How many character we have to use compulsory? Minimum length 7 character. Now suppose the requirement came to you. Some users are saying it is not easy for us to remember 7 character. And can you reduce that character length from the 7 to some other less number? So now you are an administrator. So tell me, it is whether it is possible or it is not possible. Can we reduce as an administrator the password length, which is by default 7 character length? Can we reduce it or not? Yes. So our next practical which we have to do is what? How as an administrator, based on our requirement, how we can reduce the password length from by default 7 character to any length as you required. So our next practical is what? How to reduce the password length default from the 7 character to our required value. So this is how you can do it. So to implement the changes, we need to go to one console under the tool. That console is called GPM console. That abbreviation for GPM is what? Group Policy Management. So go to that console, then expand your forest. The forest will have a domain, expand that domain. Then right click on default domain policy and click on what? Edit. So you will be getting the options, users and computer. So you go to where? Expand the policy in computer, window setting, security setting. Then expand account policies. Then you will find what? Password policies. Then there you click on the minimum password length. So by default it is 7. So you reduce to whatever value you want. That is how you will change the password length. But at the same time, you want to disable the password complexibility. So how to reduce or disable this password complexibility? So there only you will find password must meet complexity. So that you select, and instead of enable, you change it to what? Disable. You go to the properties and disable it. So when you apply these policies, that policies will be updated after you do. Three options are there. Either you can restart, which is practically not suggested, or you wait for some time. It depends on your task, maybe from 30 minutes to 3 hours. Or instead of that, we can execute one command, go to the run and simply type it what? GP update. Then whatever policy you have done will be updated immediately. That result you can check it by creating another new user you create. So previously it was not allowing us to create user without less than 7 character. Now it will allow it. Okay. So please take this snapshot, then I'll show you the practical. This is to reduce the password length default from 7 character to our value, required value. Yes, done. Are you following everybody? Yes, done. Now, next, I'll show you this practically. So now I came to my DC. What is my requirement? Reduce the password length. So before I reduce, I'll show you here. I'll try to create. I'll try to create here. What is your doubt? What about member server means? I didn't able to understand what you mean by that or what you are trying to ask. See, when you talk about domain users, everything has to be done from where? DC. Can't be done from the member server. Everything will be done and managed from the DC, not from the client or member server. Is it okay now? Okay, fine. Now, before I apply that policy, I'll show you. I'll try to create a one new user with a less than 7-character password. So see here whether it will be allowed or not. I did not change the password length. By default, it is 7. So I'm going again to which console? ADUC console. Now I already shown you how to create a domain user. Same procedure I'm using. So I'm going to create now a new user with less than 7-character password. So let's suppose this username is what? User2. Login name also I'm giving same. Now I'm trying to give only password as less than 7-character. Let me take it with what? 4-character. How many character I have given? Example, you can see there 4-character. Now I'm trying to create a user. Next, finish. Now what it is saying here? User 2 cannot be created because it is not meeting the password requirement. Password length as well as password complexibility. So that can be changed by administrator. So how do you change it? Now see here. So I told you which console we have to go to apply the. Open this, go to the tools. You can find one console here. What is that? GPM. In short, it is called GPM. The abbreviation for that is what? Group Policy Management. Open this. Now, can you find here what? The forest. So first expand what? The forest. Then expand your domain. Now your domain name is you are getting. So expand the domain name. Now you find here the first option. What is that first option? Default domain policy. What is there? Default domain policy. So you select that option. Then right click on that. Select the first option, domain, default domain policy. Right click, then edit. Now here you have two options, computer configuration, users. So you go with what? Computer configuration. So under that, you expand policies, and inside that, can you find the Windows setting? Again, expand what? Windows settings. Now, can you find here the option called securities? Expand what now? Securities. So we have expand what first? Policies, then Windows setting. Inside that, we have expanded what? Security setting. Now, can you find here what? The account policies. Now, you open that account policies. At the right side, can you see here what? Account policies. Now, you open that. Can you find here the detail about the password? So here, what is the minimum password length you find here? 7-character. What is the minimum password age? 1 day. What is the maximum? By default, 42 days. The password history enforcement is there with how many? 24. So all these are been, and even the complexity is enabled. So what I'll do, first I'll reduce the length. How to reduce? Double click on that option. You can find here what? Password must be having at least how many characters? Say suppose now I given 4. So now minimum how many characters should be there? 4. Can I give more than 4? The minimum is what? 4. Can I give more than 4? Yes. Can I give less than 4? No. That is what you have to understand. Now instead of 4, I'm giving, say suppose 0. You can give any number. So in the future, I can create a user. 0 means what? With the password or without password I can create. So for that simplicity, I'm keeping what? 0. So I kept here what? 0. Then apply. Okay. So now password length is been reduced. You can see here from 7-character to 0. But at the same time, I want to disable this complexity. So what I'll do, double click on that. You have the option of what? Instead of enable, you select here what? Disable. Apply. Okay. Now the complexity of the password is been disabled. Now, how do you check it? If I create a new user, I cannot create a new user with less than 7-character. Less than 7-character. So we have to compulsory, don't forget about the update. So how will I do the update? So best option is what? Go to the run. Type it what? GP update. That's it. Now this policy now will be effective now. So now I can create a user with any length. It can be 1 length or 0. and the complexity is not applied. So now, how I can verify that? Now let me create one new user now. Go to the ADUC console. Now select here users container, right click, new. Can you find a user? I'm trying to create that same user. User 2, user 2. Now I'm not giving any password length because I kept a 0. Now let's see here, it will be created or not. Not created. How I can verify? Now go to the member server, log out from this user, user 1. Now log in with what? User 2. Log in with what? User 2. Now I'm going to log in now with which user? User 2. Any password I given? No. So the password is empty here. Nothing is there. Still it will allow to log in. Why? Because we have created a user without password. So that is how, as the administrator, you can change all things as per your requirement. So did you understood up to this? So now lastly, we will see like for security, how many attempts are there for password? Suppose I logged in, I went away, and somebody else are trying to log in with my credential. So how many attempts by default is have? He'll type my name, he knows my name, and password he doesn't know, so he's trying. So how many times he can try it in Windows by default? Yes, how many times he can try it? So I got one answer as what? 5. Others? How many attempts we have? Maximum 4. The answer is what? It is unlimited. Unlimited means what? 0. Means you can try any number of times. So if you have that option, it might be break one day. Yes. So can you have the environment like this? Can you provide the user with like this setup? No. So now the users or the management is saying to you, change the password this attempt from unlimited to for security. So can we do that or we can't do? Yes. What you are saying is correct. Like we talk about the ATM. Yes. How many attempts we have? Now imagine if in the ATM the attempt is unlimited, means we can have any number of attempts. Then what happens? You can understand. So how much attempt they kept? Yes, 3. Once the 3 is been uh, completed or done, what will happen? I made a 4th attempt unsuccessfully. Then what happens? Account will be that card will be blocked. So same thing will happen once we restrict the password attempt from unlimited to some number. So that is what we will do now practical. So this will be our last practical for today's session. Okay. So please take this snapshot. Then I'll show you the practical. So what is our requirement now? How to reduce the wrong password attempt from unlimited to our required value. So once that attempt
Sir, is the
you want to ask anything, please write it in the chat. No, others will get disturbed. I'm regularly requesting you. I'm giving you the reply. No. Yes, you write it in the chat. Oh, it applies to all domain users. So once the policy is applied, after that, whatever users you create, to all of them, it will apply. It doesn't apply to the existing user. If you want to change, you can change it, but by default, already existing user, it doesn't apply. To the new users, this policy will be applied. Okay. So still after the session, if you have any doubt, you can ask. So can I proceed with the last thing? That is how to reduce the password attempt from unlimited to our required one. Yes. So have you taken the snapshot of this? And how do you verify this? This is what we have done is executing or not. So what attempt you are given, you try more than that intentionally, then automatically that account will be locked. Then how to unlock it? So how to unlock the account now? Take from here and I'll show you the practice. Okay, done? So let me show you the practical. So what is our requirement? Now, before I go to this, now I'll go to the my system one, sorry, system two. So any attempt restriction is there till now? No. So I'll show you now. The password is there for the user two, no password, but the other user does not know. So it's trying to log in with the user two by giving one password. How many attempt over? One, two. Another person is trying to log in into the user. 3, 4, 5. So how many attempts I can have? N number of unlimited. So this is not good security wise. So what I'm doing now as administrator, I'm reducing this from unlimited to my required word. So how I'll do that? To the DC machine. So remember, we are reducing what? The password attempt. So it is a policy. So the policy has to be implemented from where? Just now I told you. Go to the GPM console. Now, same. Go to the default under the domain. Default domain policy, right click, edit. Same thing. Computers, policies, Windows settings, security. Now, can you find here? Same account policies. So there here, what is there? Logout policy. Logout policy. How much duration they kept? Here. Logout threshold. How much they kept? 0 means no no limit. 0 means what? No limit. You can have n number of attempts. So for security, what I'm doing, this from unlimited, I'm making it to what? Generally standard is what? Most of the people keep it what? 3. So I'm also keeping how many attempts? 3. So now what will happen? What will happen now? The account will be log out after 3 failed attempts. And that account will be locked for how much duration? You can see that there, 30 minutes. Like in the ATM, how much is there? 24 hours. So same way, this also we can change. So I'm not changing it. So I reduce the password attempt from unlimited to what? 3 attempt. Now, whenever you do any policy changes, you don't forget what? Update it. So how do we update it? Go to the run. Then type it what? GP update. Now, same thing I'll do now. I'll go to the second machine now. Then again, as a user, I'm trying to log into the user 2. I don't know that his password is, he's not kept any password. So I'm trying one password, attempt over. 2 password, attempt over. What happens now? 3 over. Now what happens? After 3, I'm giving now the correct password. What is the correct password? There is no password. But now, can I log in? No, it's saying the account is locked. So once our attempt, which have been kept by administrator, is crossed, then the account automatically get locked. So the user account is locked now. Now, how do you unlock it? Who can unlock? Only the administrator can unlock. So how to unlock? Now you have to suppose the genuine user came and he says my account not able to log in. So he has to go to the administrator. Now what the admin has to do? Unlock. So how will unlock now? Let us see here. It's very simple. So go to the same server DC. Everything will be done from DC. Remember. Then you go where the users will be present in the ADUC console. So go to the ADUC console. Now, which a user account is been locked? User 2. You select user 2. Right click. Go to the properties. Now, can you have here the tab called account? You go here. Now, here, what is there? Can you see one box? Unlock account. So just check this box. The account has been locked. That's why here it is appearing. So just check the box. Means what? Now the account will get unlocked. The account will get unlocked. So same way, you can have here the options from how many hours you want to give them the logon hours, on which system you want to give. So you can use this option, logon hours. And also you can use what? Logon from which machine to which, like this. You can specify it. So our concentration is what today we are focusing on what? Password attempt, which we have kept from unlimited to 3. Now account is locked. So how am I unlocking it? As an administrator, select that user, right click property, go to the account tab and here check this box. Then say what? Apply. Okay. Now whether I need to update it, yes or no, tell me. Whether I need to go and use the command gp update, yes or no, please tell me somebody. No, yes, nice. Because we did not do from the GPM console. This we have done from the user console. So no need of that. Now verification is what? Now the account, user to account was locked, no? Now I can log in with same user. Now can I able to log in? So it is unlocked or not? Yes, that is the. So that's it for today's session. So today, you understood what we have discussed today? Yes, everybody. So what we discussed today, can you just elaborate somebody, not by saying, write it in the chat. So we discussed today what? What we discussed today? Client and member server. When this machine will be working like a client or member server, depend on the OS. And that will become only after you join into the domain, please remember. So after that, I shown you how to create a domain users. Then after domain user, I shown you 2 policies. How to reduce the password length from 7 to our required value and how to reduce the password attempt from unlimited to our required value. So this is what about today's session. So tomorrow we'll see some other interesting group policies, our requirement, how to be applied in tomorrow's session. Okay. Okay. So those people who are understood and don't have any doubt, you can leave for the session. And those who are having doubts, you can write it in the chat. I'll verify your doubts. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Those who are understood, you can leave the session. And those who have the doubts, you can write it in the chat. I'll give the reply one by one. See here, if you want to come to our office, you have my number now. You just call me and come. Where do you stay, Sanjay? You can come. But before coming, you make a call. Then I'll give you. Okay. Others? Yeah, I already made a WhatsApp group now. Still, if you want my number, you can note it down. So you can come down, but before coming, make a call. Yes, others? See, just what you need to do on your physical machine, you just install one application called VMware. You install it, and then you can do the practical by creating the machines with 2012 server operating. That OS also you need to ISO image you need to download. Already we told you number of times. Yes. What is your requirement? What is user specific you want? Can you just elaborate? What thing you want user specific? I'll share it the notes. Don't worry about that. But one question is there. Can we have user specific? So I want to know what is your requirement user specific means. No, you cannot. So policy has to be done from that concern. If you want user specific, we'll be coming certain users means we have one session called OU. In that, you will understand how to do it, not for all users, but some users. That we can do it. But that is also done through group policy, not directly. So we have a session waiting. You can set any length to the password to the user, but it is not applied to one particular user. It's applied to all users. The domain is there for what? Everybody. You don't want to make it specific to the user. That's why you are making this work centralized. Okay. How to give the restriction? You need to wait for some time. We have a full 3-4 weeks, still 3 weeks to be precise. So you will be discussing that. How to have the user specific requirement. We'll discuss that. Wait few more days. Okay. Any other doubt? If this is done, what happens? That we'll have one complete session. You are all asking about the future sessions. First, you concentrate today. What is your doubt on that? Then it will be better. After that, you can ask other questions. Your ISO image of the OS. And the software is VMware. Both you need. Yes, that also can be done, but we'll have in the coming day sessions all this. Use VMware workstation. For Apple, there is a separate workstation will not support. So they have some fusion, something like that. You check it in the Google. Separate, it is there for them. For Apple. VMware is not there. They have their own application for Mac. Any other issues regarding today's session? Which videos you mean to say? Which videos are not open? The videos which we have sent you. Recording video, you mean to say? You want me to show how to create local user? We already done with this session, no? So I told you how to create a local user means you go to the search, then type it what? Computer management. Just a second, I'll show. Like this, go to the search, type it what computer management. Here, you'll get an option to create the local. So it has been changed into the domain model. So you need to log in with what? System name, not domain. So here you will get users container. Right click and create. Okay. Yes. Any other doubt? The user will be created from the domain. That user can log in from any machine which has been joined into the domain. So there is no question of the names should be different. It has to be with same name. Otherwise, how the authentication takes place should be same. Okay. So any other person, any other doubt, or can I close the session? You did not understood? The account which you have created in the DC, you have created with some name. With same name, you need to log in from the member server or client. How it can be different? If it is different, it will not allow you. Authentication. It has to be same. Same username, same password. Is it clear now? Okay. So if there is no doubt, can I close the session now? Just give me some time. I'll check with them. I'll send a message on the WhatsApp. Okay. Yesterday video it was not opening. So I'll just check with the concerned department and I'll be with you in touch through the WhatsApp. Okay. So can I close the session now? You can use any OS as a client. It can be server or client. There is no problem. I'm closing the session now. Yes, you can use any OS. Can I close the session now? Sure. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow our session.